Hi there, my name is Layla, and I will be your host today for our Report Builder webinar, aka Mastering Custom Reports in PriceLabs. The webinar is going to have two parts. The first part will be a pre-recorded guide that will go through how to set up your account with me. And then after that, we will have a live Q&A with one of our product specialists or solutions consultants. Please feel free to drop any questions that you may have in the bottom right of your screen. And whoever hops on after me will go ahead and answer all of those questions. You can feel free to pop those questions in anytime just so you can keep track of them. You don't have to wait for the call to be over to do that. So first things first, what is the Report Builder? The Report Builder is a new tool inside of PriceLabs that's included already in your PriceLabs subscription, and it's designed to enhance your reporting and your data analysis capabilities. It's incredible. I love it. So how can you benefit from the Report Builder? With the Report Builder, you can create, customize, and save reports that are tailored exactly to your business and to your regular performance review. Then you can download these reports to Excel to even further edit them and meet all of the needs you may have. Essentially, Report Builder allows you to gather data in one place in a way that's most valuable to you. So let's hop into it. First things first, the way that you get to the Report Builder is hitting the Portfolio Analytics tab on your main page and then selecting Report Builder here, and that'll take you to this exact page. So there are a couple of different things that you can do here. By default, you'll have a couple of PriceLabs templates already built in here that you can then open and use if you'd like. You can also create your own templates. You can delete templates over on the side or edit existing ones. Additionally, you can go ahead and download them as well. All of that will be accessible here and on the individual reports themselves. So let's go through and look at the PriceLabs templates that will be on your dashboard by default. First is going to be revenue on the books. This monitors your monthly booked revenue trends, occupancy and RevPAR, revenue per available room, to compare against last year's and to assess your performance. Next, we are going to have the opportunities report. This one is a personal favorite of mine. It helps you identify listings with untapped revenue potential that can then be unlocked by increasing bookings, removing blocks like owner blocks or maintenance blocks, and then you can also adjust your minimum stay restrictions to possibly get rid of some orphan gaps that may be losing you money. After that, we've got the next 30-day outlook. That one is a little bit self-explanatory, but what it does is it analyzes key performance metrics like market penetration index, occupancy, and then booking pickup for the next 30 days. And it assesses how competitive you are compared to the market and identifies some opportunities that you may have. If this is a lot of information, hovering over these will give you exact explanations as well, so you don't have to memorize any of these. But next is segment occupancy pacing. This one is awesome as well. It evaluates how different cities and bedroom segments are pacing against the market, and then it also incorporates your last year's trends to kind of identify if there's any opportunities, any places to adjust some strategies, stuff like that. Also a great one. And then finally, we've got the leaderboard. That one is awesome. I know I keep saying that about all of them, but they really are. The leaderboard is kind of a ranked list of all your listings. Initially, it sorts that by occupancy, so highest performing occupancy to the lowest. You can also adjust that to be any one of the other columns that are available. Those include market penetration index, total revenue, and RevPAR, which is awesome. This lets you at a glance kind of identify your top performers, compare against last year's metrics again, and in the same vein, it compares your lowest performing units to how they were performing last year as well. It's just a really good at a glance at kind of figuring out what's performing super duper well in your portfolio versus what maybe needs some attention. And then additionally, you can also create your own reports. So there's a couple of ways to do this. First thing you'll want to do either way is going to be hit this create report button on your top right of the screen. Then you'll get this pop-up. You'll be able to select a template, or you'll be able to create your own report completely from scratch. Whichever one you'd want to do, you can select that here. Additionally, if you create your own reports, you'll also have those then as templates. So I've got a couple of reports in my account that I've built out. revenue and occupancy per bedroom count, bookings per month year over year. All of these are ones that I've created myself, and now I can use those as kind of a template or a core foundation of another report that I'm going to build, which is awesome. It saves you a lot of work, especially when you like a report and you don't want to just edit it. You want to maybe use it as a base for another creation, which is nice. So here for our example, I'm going to go ahead and hit create our own report so we can take a look at what it looks like. The first thing that it will prompt you to do is select a header row. So this seems a little confusing, but I promise it's not. Essentially, all that it's asking you is what you want to get data, what source you'd like to get data by, right? So for example, if I select listings, I'll see the data for each listing individually. Additionally, you can pop in here and say, hey, I want to look at groups instead, which is totally fine. You can do group performance or group statistics and data analysis. There's a ton of other ones that you can do as well. So if you wanted to do literally day by day for an entire month or year, you can do that. You can do months. All of these are definite easy options. I'll go ahead and for simplicity, go ahead and select listings and create. Once you create, all of your listings will populate here on the side. And then we can kind of start figuring out what exactly we want to look at for listings. So over on the right-hand side, you'll have a ton of information. So first is the header row, the header row that we saw here. That can be adjusted and changed here if you'd like, instead of creating a new report. Additionally, you can select any other attributes that you'd like to see here. So if for some reason you just want to keep an eye on what your what your listings are doing in terms of like base price or in terms of, let's do city. I'm going to click out of this, and now you'll see those two things listed here as well. So instead of being kind of like metrics that you're running and pulling data for, it's more so something that's going to be stagnant regardless of, when you're looking, which date ranges you're selecting, stuff like that. It's just something to maybe keep an eye out or to sort by in the future. I'm going to go ahead and unselect these because they're not going to be super valuable to me at the moment. Additionally, you can select a second header. Again, it's going to be the same as this listing name. And then we can go and, again, select just columns and some other big core things about the graph, or the report that you're building. But the most important part is going to be the values down here. So this is going to be which data that you want to pull. There's a ton of different options. They're categorized by kind of what general metrics they are. So occupancy metrics are, of course, are going to be things like your occupancy. Booking and length of stay metrics are going to be, again, booking and length of stay metrics. You can click into either of these and see all of the tons of options that we have. So for example, in occupancy metrics, you've got an occupancy percentage. And then once you click that occupancy percentage, there's a ton of different occupancy percentages that you can look into. So let's say I want to look at my current occupancy. I want to look at my occupancy same time last year. And then I want to look at the year over year difference in terms of that occupancy. I'm going to go ahead and click out of this. And as soon as you click out of it, your preview is going to be updated. So for the listings that I've selected here, I can now see the occupancy same time last year, and the year over year differences. Obviously last year I was not doing so hot, it seems. And then this year we're pacing much better. Very positive trends over on this side. Let's say that this isn't enough information for me and I want to kind of dive in a little bit deeper. I can go ahead and say, hey, let me look at rental revenue as well. You can, again, pop right in here, select which revenue metrics that you want to look at. And as soon as you click out of this guy, it will update the preview here for you so you can see exactly what it looks like. So I have my rental revenue here. Since this is a demo account, it's got some slightly wonky numbers. So let me look at a broader kind of range of time. Let's do last year compared to the year before. Okay, perfect. So this is a little bit more helpful. Here you can see my current occupancies. Well, you can see the occupancies for last year and then compare that to the occupancies with the year prior. and it will give you the actual comparison here on the side as well. And then same thing with rental revenue. You can see my rental revenue for all of last year, and then the rental revenue compared to the same time last year, which again, comparing it to last year would then be 2023. And then finally, your percent change in year-over-year stats, which is really cool. I highly recommend looking through all of these. One really, really nice thing is that it gives you an exact kind of explanation of what you're looking at here. So occupancy percentage is going to be percent of booked nights out of total nights, excluding blocks. Then market occupancy is going to be percent of booked nights out of the total nights for an entire market. All of this gives you a bunch of clarity on what exactly it is, and it's going to be the same way for all of the potential values that you may have here. So tons of really, really good data. I absolutely recommend at least looking through all of those just to kind of, look at all of the possible things that you can run reports about, which is super cool. Additionally, down here at the bottom, you've got some conditional formatting. This basically is just going to change how these graphs here are presented. So as you can see, 40% here looks a certain way. It's a bar that's filled up pretty well. I can change the colors and change, if it's on the left side or the right side and all of that stuff here. You can dig into that a little bit, but I think that the way that we do it by default is really awesome. I think that it helps you kind of see at a glance what's doing well versus what's maybe not doing so well, right? Tons and tons of good information. And then that's going to be your preview here. Additionally, what you can do is view the full report. So once we click that, if you were to have like a larger portfolio or some, really long, a really long report, there we go. Seeing it in full is going to be a little bit more accurate. It's going to be a little bit more visually appealing. It isn't going to be crunched down as much as the preview mode is. So I definitely recommend using that once you've kind of got an idea of what exactly you want to do in the report, and once you've run the numbers and seen the preview and seen that it makes sense. Once you've got a report that you like, you can hop in here and just hit save as a template. You'll want to name it, and you can add a description if you'd like and hit save, and then it will be added as a template. We'll go through and build out another one together just real quick. I want to pop in here and let's say, for example, I'm really curious about my occupancy based on room size, right? So something that I want to see is maybe how my revenues are performing based on room size, which property sizes are kind of the best to maybe invest in the future, and which ones are not maybe doing so hot. So what I'm going to want to do is, instead of selecting, give me information by listing, I'm going to go ahead and say, hey, I actually want to run a report based off of bedroom count, please. Then you'll see I have my 1 bedrooms, my 2 bedrooms, my 3, 4, 5 bedrooms all here. I can go ahead and pop down here and say, I'm really concerned about occupancy percentages. I'm also curious about what market occupancy is as well. So let's get some market occupancy metrics in here as well. And then what else is important to me? Maybe booked nights. I just want to see how often we are being booked for each of these properties. And I also want to compare all of these metrics that I'm choosing to the same information from last year. So I just want to get a good idea of what kind of where we're at. Let's go ahead and say that that's fine in terms of occupancy metrics. And we've got rental revenues as well. So if we pop in here, as you can see, there's kind of a lot of information, right? And maybe it's not sorted in a way that makes a lot of sense to me. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is reorder the columns here. So occupancy and occupancy same time last year is perfect, but I think that rental revenue is probably more important to me. So what I'm going to do is drag this up and drag the accompanying rental revenue stats up as well, because I want to see what revenue changes are like for me. Then I'll say occupancy is fine, but also I really don't think that market occupancy is as important to me as booked nights are. So let's pop in here and move booked nights up as well and leave market occupancy at the end and hit update. And now it's going to run all of this data and we can view the full report. So based on this, up here, you can select the date range that you want to look at. I'm personally going to look at all of 2024. I think that that's going to be valuable to me and kind of give me an idea of where I was most profitable. So I've got a couple of properties in each of these bedroom count categories. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and look at a couple of these stats. So rental revenue, by far, my best rental revenue comes from my two bedrooms. So that's something to consider. I know that I, on my account, have a similar number of bedroom categories, or excuse me, a similar number of listings in each bedroom category. So I know that, comparing apples to apples here. So yeah, two bedrooms, most profitable for me. It looks like 4 and 5 bedrooms do pretty well as well. Not doing so hot in the 3 bedroom and the 1 bedroom category. That's fine. Um, Comparing this to my total revenue last year, it looks like my biggest growth was in the 3 bedroom category, which is really important to me. I feel like it makes a lot of sense to maybe invest in something that's got that very positive year over year increase versus something that may be a little bit more stagnant, like the 4 bedrooms, right? It's still profitable, of course. I'm still increasing money, but it's another kind of metric to keep an eye out on. Occupancy, again, slight changes. Oh, it looks like my occupancy is significantly worse this year compared to last year for 5 bedrooms. So that's something to keep in mind. Essentially, what this does is it lets you choose kind of what is important to you, what you want to see at a glance, and allows you to look at that. So, in a very simple way, excuse me, and a way that hopefully makes things a little bit clearer. If you have any kind of things that you want to tweak or anything like that, of course, you can go ahead and do that. It's super customizable and it's got a lot of details. I know that we've kind of covered a lot, but there's so much more that's available. And again, I highly, highly recommend going through and kind of tweaking those couple of settings, or excuse me, looking through those couple of settings. Let me go in here and run the same report, but instead of by bedroom count, let's look at by listing real quick. And I'll show you one other thing. So let's say you've got a specific owner and you want to look at this information here, but only for that one owner. What you're able to do is use the listing filter. So let's say I want to look at a certain group. You can select the group here and then it will tailor it so that only the group's listings show up. In a similar vein, you can do specific listings individually. So if I wanted to pop in here and say, hey, I want to look at, all of these, I'd apply filters and then it would just tailor it to that. It's super convenient. Then you can go ahead and view the full report, download it, and even send it to owners as a copy. Tons and tons of good stuff. So yeah, now that we have kind of actually used this a little bit, there's just kind of a couple of best practices that I would recommend. First is going to be, let me discard this. The first thing that I would recommend is honestly looking through the PriceLabs templates. They're amazing. They're incredibly useful. Let me pop into opportunities just to kind of show you what it looks like. Perfect. So here's a really great report that I love. You can then go ahead and make this the basis of, another report that you're building. We've done a lot of the hard work and we've done a lot of like the guessing what's important to people. And I think that that's really valuable. And then it lets you kind of play off of that and build your own reports off of that, which is super convenient. To do that, you're just going to hit duplicate and edit. You can call it the same thing if you'd like, or you can always adjust the name later. And now I've got that same exact report, but instead of, doing this, I want to go ahead and add a price metric as well. Let's go ahead and keep my base price in here. Let's go ahead and populate my pickup metrics. Let's see how many booked nights I've had in the last 60 days. And let's go ahead and look at some length of stay stats. Let's do total bookings for last year and view report. Or excuse me, total bookings, not last year. Cool. So now we've got that core principal report that makes a lot of sense. And then you've got that added data that you wanted to see as well. This is super convenient for like Excel sheets, especially because you can then sort by this stuff, see which base prices are working, which ones aren't, see if there's any correlation between base price and, you know, opportunity to make money in the future kind of stuff. It's all super duper useful. It's all super duper customizable. You can kind of do anything that you want and anything that makes sense. One last thing I'll show you is the goal setting tool. So one thing that you can do inside of PriceLabs is set up some goals. So you'll want to hit this goal setup button and you'll download a CSV. The CSV is an Excel file essentially that will have each of your listings and each month listed out, and you can then maybe enter some goals for those months, for those listings, revenue wise, occupancy wise, whatever, and let you kind of track how on pace you are to reaching those goals. So when you are running a report, one of the columns that you can add is your goals that you've selected. And then you can also select another column that tracks how close you are to those goals each month or each year or whatever makes the most sense to you. It's a super duper useful feature to kind of just keep up with your pacing and make sure that you are where you want to be. Instead of maybe comparing to the same time last year, maybe you know, hey, I have a situation that's a little bit different this year than last year. I don't want to have the exact same goals of last year. I want to do better, or I'm not expecting to do as well. Whatever makes the most sense to you, you set your own goals the way that you want to. And that'll be that. So, yes, lots and lots of information. Again, this is one of those things that is really good to play around with. And feel free to ask any questions of the PriceLabs team member that'll hop on after me. They will absolutely show you anything you want to see. It's a little bit tough to kind of figure out what everyone wants to see. So I feel like I gave you guys a nice little like broad tutorial, and hopefully you have some questions and can get into the nitty gritty a little bit more with whoever hops on after me. Again, I absolutely encourage you to kind of mess around with Report Builder and look into it. It's one of those things that's going to be more fun to play with than to learn about. And then additionally, we've got a knowledge base article for the Report Builder that's super helpful. We will link that for you as well. But yeah, just hang around. We will have someone on in just a sec, and they will absolutely kind of show you the ropes a little bit more in a